Sean Spicer, great to see you again. Look, if Joe Biden is not mentally or physically fit to run for president, is he fit to be president?
There's two answers to that question. There is the national security answer that I think a lot of Americans are asking. If you're and just as a side note, look, in March of 1968, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was the president of the United States at the time, went on television and said, "I'm not running for re-election. I won't accept the nomination of the Democratic Party because of the Vietnam War. I want to spend all of my efforts there." That's what I would say is the why, right? Why are you not going to run for re-election? Why are you not accepting the nomination? He was able to answer it. The letter that Joe Biden put out doesn't answer why. Nowhere in that letter does he explain why he's not running for re-election. He just says, "I've accomplished a lot. There's more to be done, and I'm not." That's a concern that I think we should be asking, because I think the reality is what we know, that it's a medical health issue. But he doesn't want to say it because it gets to the question that you're asking. Okay, so let me get back to this for a second. There is a national security aspect to this that I think rightly many Americans are concerned about. But then there's the political issue, which I'm also concerned with. And I have said to my fellow Republicans for the past 24 hours, knock it off. If he were to resign, which frankly he will not, okay, and that or the 25th Amendment of our Constitution would have to get invoked to remove him. Either he would voluntarily step aside, which he will not, or his cabinet will remove him, which they will not. But Republicans need to understand that, God forbid he did do that, then Kamala Harris would become the incumbent president, and we'd have to run against an incumbent president with the trappings of the office. That would be a stupid, stupid thing. So for those two reasons, one, he's not going to do it. And two, if he did, that would make the race harder. Republicans need to knock it off in the United States. It doesn't help us. So Andrew, the broader point that I made today to folks on my podcast was the following. In a political campaign, you get so many pitches, okay? You can call it, pick your sport to find the analogy. It doesn't matter, right? You get so many kicks on goal, whatever you want, right? Tries, I think that's the rugby word. The bottom line is this. You get this X many, and everyone that you waste talking about him resigning, talking about the process not being fair, is a waste. Kamala Harris will be the nominee. She will reinvigorate herself. There will be liberal Hollywood money. And every second, every minute that we waste talking about Joe Biden or the 25th Amendment or him resigning or the process not being fair is a complete and utter waste. And it takes the eye off the prize, which is defeating her and returning Donald Trump to office.
Sean Spicer, you go straight to the point that I raised last night. I thought the Republicans were being far too cocky about their chances against her. Harris is not a complete idiot, although I admit she presents as one. She has done some, rather impressive things in the past, not lately though. She has raised $81 million US in just 24 hours for her campaign. Listen, how serious a danger is she really to Donald Trump?
Very. I mean, I'm with you, Andrew. I think we see eye to eye despite all the water that's between us right now. The bottom line is this. This race has shifted. Look, is Donald Trump still the prohibitive favorite? Absolutely. Is it still his race to lose? Absolutely. But make no mistake about it, the dynamic has changed. The biggest issue for so many voters, especially on the Democratic side in independents, was the mental acuity and the ability to serve as president that Joe Biden presented. Kamala Harris takes that right off the table. Now you have a different set of issues to go after her on: her policies, her belief, her experience, her record, the record at them as a team, her failure to secure the border. There's a huge list. But Republicans who don't take her seriously do so at their own peril. This will be a much closer race. She is going to get a sugar high of a bump in the polls, especially after she picks her vice president. It will come back down. But at the end of the day, anybody that doesn't fully appreciate that hundreds of millions of dollars remaking this woman into whatever she wants to be, whatever. And that's the other point that I would make, is that for so many people, whether it's people like you and me, the people who watch your show or my podcast, we're following the news. We know about Kamala Harris. We know about her record. But I would challenge anyone in the United States to walk down the city or town that you're from and ask the next 20 people if they know who she is. And I would argue that probably maybe 10 of them say, yeah, I know her. I think she's the vice president. But ask them to go an inch deep. Tell me something she's done. And it's only the people who are really following the day-to-day evolution of politics that might be able to name something. The rest of folks, again, it's not a very high-profile position in our country. And so a lot of Americans are going to say, I've heard of her, I might know her name, but that's it. And so hundreds of millions of dollars of advertising remaking her can make a huge difference, positive or negative. And that's why I'm saying Republicans need to understand that the dynamic of this race has vastly changed and that we need to get on it quickly and define her as a candidate.
She has got a lot of room to reinvent herself, in fact, to invent herself. I think that she's been a shapeshifter all along, an opportunist, you might say. As a prosecutor, she was boasting, she was tough on crime. In Joe Biden's team, she was actually doing the opposite, raising bail money for Black Lives Matter's rioters. Early in her career, she was stressing her Indian roots. Now she's, being hailed as the African American. She's married a religious Jewish man. Now she's tougher on Israel than Joe Biden and won't even meet Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, on his visit to Washington, which starts now. She's a shapeshifter, and she could change, I think, as you suggest, from being perceived as an airhead into a safe bet.
Yeah, I think the Trump campaign should play the tape back of exactly what you described and understand that. She has been tough on crime. She's been weak on crime. I mean, she has gone all over the place on every single issue, depending on the office that she's seeking and the immediate goal that she's trying to achieve. And nothing will change it. And the fact of the matter is that no one's going to remember her record as a DA in California or the attorney general in California or even the position she took on senator. So she's going to get out there and redefine herself. And then, by the way, just so we're clear, my guess is that she either picks Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, or Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, as her running mate. Once that happens, then they'll be able to inject an entire new set of principles and policies that they'll say are different than the Biden-Harris ones. And so the ability to shapeshift and take on new positions is going to evolve multiple times in the next 30 days. So that's why I think, my warning is clear. Anyone who doesn't think that this is going to be a much different and tougher race is sadly mistaken.